adopted at the roll call.
Mr. Fallon?
Here.
Mr. Garvin?
Here.
Mr. O'Byrne? Mr. Vaccaro? Mr. Biamonte?
Present.
Mr. Nieves?
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nieves. Ms. Schmidt, could you please get us started for September? Thank you.
That just put me in a good mood, and he did that. You give me 1 minute. You give me a minute, Mr. Albert. I'm going to help Ms. Schmidt out for a few minutes and award the September Student of the Month from the Doyle School. Since September encompassed many school-wide initiatives and activities around the theme of respect, grade-level teachers were asked to nominate a student on behalf of their respective grade that best embodies this important trait. The teachers wrote the following rationales for their students. For kindergarten, Mackenzie Caputo. I'm going to say some nice words about you, okay? Mackenzie is very respectful. She demonstrates kindness and has great manners. Mackenzie works hard and always tries her best. Congratulations. Why don't you stand right there and move together, okay? Grade 1, Denise Tinger. I have some really nice words about you as well. Denise is always respectful to her classmates and teachers. She listens to whoever is speaking, never interrupting. She is kind and always helpful to her friends who may need some help. Congratulations. Want to go stand next to Mackenzie? Juliana DeGennaro. You have some kind words too. Juliana always respects her teachers and her classmates and is willing to lend a helping hand to whoever needs it most. Not only does Juliana exemplify respect on a daily basis, but she does it with the biggest smile on her face. Keep shining, Juliana. And as I'm saying this, her smile is so big. Congratulations. And finally, grade 3, Nathaniel Colon. You ready to hear your kind words? All right. Since day one, Nathaniel has shown how respectful he is to his teacher and classmates. He is very positive and has great manners. He deserves to be recognized for being a great role model and demonstrating a fantastic attitude that helps the classroom atmosphere shine even more. Congratulations. Take a picture of Ms. Schmidt.
We have three wonderful students over at the intermediate school that I'd love to introduce to you this evening. Our first student I'd like to call up is Mr. Ryan Tacanelli. Come up, Ryan. Ryan is a hard worker, responsible and kind. He pays attention, follows direction, is always willing to help others, including the teachers. That's a smart man. Ryan very much enjoys school, especially science class. He loves doing different experiments in class and also works on them at home on his own. He is currently taking advantage of the many clubs that WRS has to offer by joining bands, STEM, and choir this year. He is also active in sports, playing baseball, soccer, and basketball. During his free time, as if he had any, he likes to call and hang out with his friends. Ryan would like to be a professional baseball player when he grows up, but if not, he has set his sights quite literally high, as he would like to start a new airline since he has a great interest in planes. One person that Ryan considers to be a role model is the Chicago Cubs player, I'm going to mispronounce this name, Seiya Suzuki. He admires Suzuki's skills and talent as a player and says he is a great hitter and outfielder, which is what Ryan strives to be as well. Congratulations to our fourth grade student of the month for September, Mr. Ryan Tacanelli. The next student I'd like to call up is Mr. AJ Lopena. AJ, are you here? Yes, he is. AJ is kind, athletic, quiet, but also very hardworking. He always tries his best in class and is eager to participate. He strives to do well, but is not afraid to ask for help from his teachers when he needs it. His favorite subjects in school are science and social studies because he loves history and facts. And with regards to science, he gets to do really cool experiments. Outside of school, AJ plays baseball and football and loves to play video games. His role model is Anthony Rizzo of the Yankees. He looks up to Rizzo because it encourages him to be a better baseball player and become a better first baseman. Not surprisingly, when AJ grows up, he wants to be a New York Yankee. Right? Congratulations to our fifth grade student of the month for September, Mr. AJ Lopena. And on to our sixth grade student of the month. Do we have Miss Olivia Sikora here? Yes, she is over there. Olivia is outgoing, friendly, conscientious with her work, and is always participating in class. She always strives to do well, but she too realizes when she does not know something, she is not afraid to ask for help when she needs it. Her favorite subject in school is math. She loves to learn different things in math and knows that she will need to use a lot of it in her future. She also chimed in that math is fun. I'm glad someone believes that. Right. Who knew? Outside of school, she is a multi-sport athlete. She plays soccer, runs track, plays softball and also volleyball, and is also a Girl Scout. Her role model is her mom. I love that. And she said she is very kind, talks a lot. She said that. I did not say that. Yes, she talks a lot. Yes. And is always planning fun activities to do with the family. That's forced family fun, right? I like that. When Olivia grows up, she would like to be a chemist or an architect, certainly two very impressive professions to go into. Congratulations to our sixth grade student of the month for the intermediate school, Miss Olivia Sikora.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ms. Ruiz. I'm the high school principal, and I am going to be announcing our students of the month for September for the junior senior high school, and I'll be saying a little something about what the teacher said about each student. For the seventh grade, we have Andrew Byrne. Andrew is a dedicated student who always tries really hard and is determined to get good grades. Andrew has an excellent work ethic. He is very interested in the topics that are covered. He participates often and is always actively involved in projects and labs. He is extremely respectful to all the teachers and his classmates, both in and outside of the classroom. Congratulations, Andrew. For the eighth grade, we have Jacob Sanchez. Jacob Sanchez is a wonderful student who is always willing to help. Jacob is a polite and responsible young man. He is respectful to his teachers and classmates. Jacob always gives 100% when completing his classwork and homework and projects. He often leads class discussions and has come out of his shell to show the confident 8th grade student he has become. Congratulations, Jacob. Ninth grade, I do not see her. Destiny Altador. Destiny is a great example of a student who cares about her education. She's always willing to help others when they don't understand a concept or assignment in class, but she also doesn't shy away from asking her own questions. We really appreciate Destiny's enthusiasm and her insights to help propel class discussions. Congratulations, Destiny. 10th grade, Eliana Laforte, who I would first like to say she's also the president of the 10th grade class. Eliana is a responsible and hardworking student who is always respectful to her classmates and teachers. She also likes to participate in class discussions with intriguing questions and insight. Eliana is intelligent, studious, independent, and a hard worker. Her pleasant personality makes her a pleasure to teach, along with her willingness to help her classmates with group work or tutoring. Congratulations, Eliana. 11th grade, who's also not here, David Castro Bethencourt. David is incredibly kind and helpful. He is polite and respectful. He always helps new students who enter our school and our ESL program. He gives them tours and helps them with non-academic questions as well. He teaches his classmates how to open lockers, navigate the lunchroom, and weight room. He's always willing to lend a hand. At the end of his lunch period, he helps clean up all the games, and if he sees any trash on the floor, he's the first one to pick it up and throw it away. Congratulations, David. And our 12th grader, who also is not here, Paige Christiana. Paige is a student who's a hard worker and also is very confident in who she is. Students like that are hard to come by and truly make teaching more enjoyable, especially with her humor. Her mindset is what makes Paige perfect for a student of the month and as a future educator. Her open mind and heart allows her to best meet the needs of her future students. We are so proud of the growth that she has made throughout her educational career here at Woodridge High School. She's a true leader and is always trying her best to succeed academically and does this with a smile and a joke on the side. Congratulations to all students of the month.
Congratulations. So we have a couple of things to go through tonight. We're going to move right on to our student report. Then we have some special announcements by Mr. Albro. Then we also have his superintendent report, our board report, an assessment report, and then we get onto a regular course of business talking about resolutions, et cetera. But I will give everybody an opportunity after we get through some things. If you want to leave, we won't be insulted. I'll give you, about a minute if you want to go. But let's go over to our student report.
It has been a very busy and exciting month at the junior-senior high school. We kicked off the first week of October with a Spirit Week for Respect Week. We had very different theme days, which most students and staff participated in. Mrs. Mano and Mrs. Sturba hosted a choir/band workshop with Garfield and Richfield Park high school students during the school day. It was a day filled with icebreakers, games, and lots of signing. Mrs. Vasquez and Ms. Sanchez hosted our very first Hispanic Heritage Night celebration. It was a great turnout, delicious food, great music, and fun crafts. October is Italian Heritage Month, and we celebrated by learning about famous Italian people and every morning and on our announcements. All the 11th graders took the PSATs on October 18th and 19th. This was the very first year it was all online and went smooth. The Glee Club and Mr. Foreman's English students went to New York City to see the musical Anne Juliet. Staff and students loved it. Our senior students council members went down to the intermediate school to help with the Splatter and Kindness tie-dye event. Our students helped intermediate school students tie-dye t-shirts. The intermediate students loved working with the seniors. Mrs. Paniagua hosted a virtual a virtual presentation at night for all seniors and their parents on the college application process. It was well attended. Seniors had their Halloween breakfast followed by a parade around the school to show all the students their creative costumes. Our fall athletic season has concluded. Congratulations to my fellow seniors on their final season. All fall teams qualified and participated in the NJSIAA state tournament. All programs were ejection-free throughout the fall season, and we are hosting our Fall Sports Awards here in the Auditorium on November 16th at 6 p.m. All are welcome. We are preparing for the winter season as interest meetings are underway. Go Blue Devils. And that concludes my student report.
Thank you. Tony, I believe you have some awards to give out as well.
Good evening. This evening, we're going to restore something that we haven't been able to acknowledge in quite some time, definitely before what we endured in the pandemic. Our Board of Education has policies and regulations 3212 and 4212, which states the following with regards to staff attendance. In order to encourage regular attendance, each administrator annually will submit to the superintendent a list of employees who have been absent no more than 3 days for any reason. Such a list will be submitted on May 1st for the period July 1 to April 30 for 12-month employees and September 1 to April 30th for all other employees. The superintendent will inform the board of the records of these employees so that the board can recognize the accomplishment of such exemplary records. During the pandemic, state guidance suggested ceasing this type of recognition due to the high incidence of infection, absence, and want to force someone to come in if they were ill to receive this honor. Now that we're post-pandemic, I'm pleased to restore this recognition. On this evening's agenda, the Board of Education will hopefully pass a resolution, Board Operations Number 5, recognizing the instructional staff members who accomplish such exemplary attendance records. I ask that any members present please stand when they hear their name called and accept our sincere thanks and appreciation on behalf of the Board of Education. Now, given that these people attend school so well, I'm not surprised if some of them aren't here. They're probably home getting to bed early, making sure gas is in the car to get to school the next day. But I do know we have some of our honorees here, and I'm going to announce every name. From our high school, Mr. Christopher Affuso. Mr. Ted Colarusso from our high school. From the Doyle School, Miss Ashlyn Cortina. From the Doyle School, Miss Jessica Finley. In the high school, our school nurse, Gail Freshy Sale. At Doyle School, Gloria Glavin. In the high school, Valerie Hunter. Working all throughout the district each day, Kelly Manicone. At Doyle School, Dr. Alexandra Pascas. At Doyle School, one of our paraprofessionals, Donna Stoles. One of our art teachers, currently at the intermediate school, Dr. Larissa Svetkova. Our esteemed intermediate school principal, Mr. Keith Lisa. Our current high school assistant principal, athletic director, Mr. Mark Sinclair. Our current high school principal, Mrs. Sylvia Ruiz. And last but not least, paraprofessional at the intermediate school, Ms. Teresa DeMace. They will all be receiving a copy of this resolution from me, along with another commemorative letter. And I appreciate the fact that they work so hard to get to school each day, even in trying times. And it's very much, the more consistency we have in the classroom, the better. So thank you, everyone involved.
Okay, this is your opportunity. So I'm going to take a 1-minute break. If there's anything that you're more than welcome to leave, and then we'll get started with our regular course of business. unless you're an administrator or you're here from the WREA. All right, back to our regular course of business. So I'm gonna move over to have Mr. Morelli go through our our BA report. Tony, you can then give your superintendent report down there, and then we'll join him down there as we get through the assessment. So Carl, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Our district auditors were in our building for approximately 2 weeks, and we should have our completed audit made public and available to us in about 4 to 5 weeks. Also on tonight's agenda is the approval for 2 contracts. The first is with Frontline to add another component to our system that will streamline our hourly timesheet reporting and will allow us to go paperless with timesheets and help our payroll process to be more efficient. The second contract is with Profit Tank that will assist me in reviewing our expenses for any potential cost savings. Some of the budget items that we'll be looking at would be facilities, utilities, and building operations. Also, as part of the revamping of our business office, I would like to thank Michael McGeehan for his continued help in our office as he transitions from the business department back to our IT department, and also a thank you to Allison Montague for accepting the position as my assistant while continuing to handle her accounts payable duties. As always, if anyone from our staff or public has any questions, please feel free to contact any of my staff members or myself in our office. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. All right, trustees, let's make our way down there. Tony, I'll turn over to you for both the presentation and your report.
Okay, I will give my superintendent's report first. Good evening. I open this evening's report by reminding everyone that due to Election Day being conducted tomorrow, all district schools will operate on a 1-session day, early dismissal. No lunch will be served. Doyle and the intermediate school will dismiss at 12:28. The high school will dismiss at 12:13. The Doyle School and the intermediate school both serve as polling locations in the borough. So I ask that everyone be patient at drop-off and pickup, as we expect the volume of traffic to be somewhat greater as compared to other days. A reminder, all of our schools are closed on Thursday and Friday of this week for the New Jersey State Teachers Convention. October is a very busy month in the state of New Jersey, with a great many themes being celebrated during the month. Each of our school buildings conducted themed activities for the variety of state-sponsored school themes. Week of Respect, which is anti-HIV, School Violence Awareness Week, Red Ribbon Week, which is drug and alcohol awareness. Many things on our agenda this evening retroactively are touching upon some of those activities where we involve students from other schools, visiting schools, parents, community members, etc. Of course, we also had our Halloween activities take place when the weather was cooperative. We thank the Woodridge Police Department for their active presence in our schools and in the community during the Halloween event. Thank you to all of our staff members, our students, their families, and our community for supporting all the events that we did in October and the many events that we're going to accomplish in the upcoming months. Of course, as we approach the holidays, you're going to be inundated with a variety of fundraising opportunities and things to benefit those less fortunate than ourselves. And one thing we do very well in Woodridge, we always support those endeavors. So I'm hoping that we're going to continue to do so. The first academic marking period of the current school year will close on Wednesday, November 15th. Each school will be sending out information regarding accessing report cards and progress reports. Additionally, Each school building will be offering an evening parent-teacher conference during the remainder of this month. And lastly, I've had some good response concerning my Friday folder, where I'm trying to bunch all those flyers together and send them out. I, however, am not perfect, and sometimes I miss one. That's why you got a couple today, but I endeavor to do better. But I have heard that besides being paperless, parents have appreciated the fact that it's one email and they can go through to determine what they need to do. Mr. Nieves, that concludes my report. And I'll segue into our state testing performance. Before I begin my report, I have to say that's with a great deal of pride that I report these results. These results are based upon our state assessments administered last spring in the areas of English, language arts, literacy, mathematics, and science. Language arts and math predominantly in grades 3 through 9, science in grades 5, 8, and 11. I am proud of the effort of our students. It's going to show in some of our results. I'm proud of the effort of our community, our staff members, and our families. This is an area that we hope to improve in each year, just as every other district in the state. When you look at the results tonight, if you're aware that they're being discussed tonight, you probably are prepared to look at certain things that interest you and are important to you. And I hope that this report addresses all those areas. And of course, at the end of our meeting, when the public can speak to anything, you can ask any question regarding my report. One of the other things that I looked at in compiling this report is the perceived gap, or the drop, so to speak, that took place following the pandemic. Up until last year, in 22, our last testing year was 2019, prior to the pandemic. So last year in 2022, we compared our results to those earned in 2019, the last testing year. And the results were considerably lower in achievement score as compared to 2019 as a district, and in some areas in specific grade and content areas. One of the things you'll observe tonight, and hopefully I cited it in a good slide, you'll see a comparison of the total district, language arts, math, and science, where we were in terms of achievement, meeting or exceeding expectations in 19 prior to COVID, where we were last year, and where we are now. And I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I'm proud to say that we have gotten back to the levels prior to COVID, and in most cases, we've surpassed the levels. As the superintendent, and with my administration here, this is not something we're satisfied with. We're happy, we're proud, but we're not satisfied. And we are cognizant of the fact that there are certain areas that are in need of considerable improvement, and that's what we work on with our staff and our students every single day. So we'll start with English language arts. And in our first slide, we're looking at 2023, grades 3 through 9. And the breakout in data is the 5 levels of performance. 1, not yet meeting. 2, partially meeting. 3, approaching expectations. And then 4, meeting expectations. And 5, exceeding. And in our chart or table, you'll see highlighted in yellow border the district scores this year in terms of percentages, and then next to it as it compares to the state. Putting that all together and making the first comparison to the state, in English language arts, you can see that, for example, 3rd grade, 83%, meeting or exceeding standards, as compared to the state at 42%. Moving down to 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 75% meeting or exceeding expectations, 49% for the state. Now, areas that we have concern for and we have to do more introspection into, grades 7 and 8, where we're at 50 or more % achievement, we're slightly below the state average. That's a focus for us right now. And then grade 9, 56% as compared to 52% in the state. Another area of comparison is between 2022 and 2023, taking a look at, if my laser works, taking a look at level 1 and 2 and level 4 and 5. And the objective is to have fewer students score in levels 1 and 2 and more score in 4 and 5. So for terms of comparison, third grade, we saw 11 fewer percentage points of students score in levels 1 and 2 in comparison to 2022. Consequently, we had 17% of an increase in students who scored in levels 4 or 5. And moving down through the grade levels, you can see where you're hoping for, in this column, you're hoping for negative numbers. And in the changes in 4 and 5, you're hoping for positive numbers. This data point is something that the state demands I have to have in my presentation. Basically, the purpose of this data point is to prove what's the percentage of students taking this assessment. It's not 40%, it's not 50%. Historically, it's been in the 90s. In 2019 and prior, you can always opt out. We had more students at that point opting out, but as we've returned from the pandemic, we have more students participating in the assessment. Now, I am obliged to report out on subgroups. Any subgroup that has more than 10 students tested in it. So for comparison, we have male and female, and we're comparing them to the previous school year's achievement. We have race, Hispanic, Latino, Asian, Black, white, 2 or more races. Types of programs, non-economically disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged, students with an IEP, general education students, students with a 504, and non-migrant students. You don't see migrant students because that's a population less than 10. Blue, the darker blue is this past spring, and the lighter blue is the spring prior. Overall, all of our grade levels, grades 3 through 9 in language arts, we scored 62% as a district, achieving proficiency or meeting or exceeding standard, compared to 54% last year, and then it exceeds the state numbers from this past year and the year before. Now, one of the things that I pointed out at the beginning of my talk here, one of the things that I was looking for, where have we come from having endured the pandemic? So in 2019, grades 3 through 9, we had 60% of the students meet levels 4 or 5. Last year, perhaps expected, we dipped down to 54%. 2 years ago. Last year in 23, in the spring of 23, we had 62%. We're not satisfied, but from a statistical data point perspective, if someone asks me, are we starting to fill that achievement gap? In this particular area, we've documented that we've made that growth and restored what some people thought we might have lost. And it took time, from 2019 to 2023. Moving on to mathematics. The same first slide, reporting out levels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yellow borders are for our district. If you see N numbers less than 10, that means that population doesn't have 10 students in it, so there's no data points for it. One of the things that has changed from 2019 to 22 and 23, there are fewer students taking Algebra 2 and geometry because it's primarily for ninth graders. Whatever math they're taking is ninth graders. In 2019, we still had sophomores and juniors taking these assessments. Overall, in comparison to the state, we have all of our grade levels, and the one caveat is that Algebra 1, where's my laser? Algebra 1 encompasses two groups, 8th graders taking algebra, in addition to ninth graders taking algebra. In the 8th grade group, that is solely 8th graders taking Math 8. So currently we have 8th graders in Math 8, and we have 8th graders taking Algebra 1. In the Algebra 1 data, that is inclusive of 8th graders in the spring who were in Algebra 1, as well as, for the most part, freshmen in Algebra 1. Geometry was a smaller size. We had about 15 students in it, and we had less than 10 in Algebra 2. And when you compare, the one thing that my colleagues throughout the state continue to express a great amount of concern is the fact that 18% of the state's 8th graders are able to pass this test. Comparatively, we're at 21%, which is better than the state, and it's one of our better numbers that we've had in that grade level for a while, but it's obviously not something we're satisfied with. Again, going back to the comparisons of levels 1 and 2 combined and 4 and 5 combined, in the second to last column, the changes in level 1 and 2, you're looking for negative numbers. And in the column where changes in level 4 and 5, you're looking for positive numbers. And we have experienced some growth in terms of the math scores. Again, not to the point of satisfaction, but it gives us an idea that what we're doing is putting us on the right track. Again, participation. And now we get into the subgroups, male and female. The darker blue is this past spring. The lighter blue is the spring of 22. We get into our subgroups. And as our district has grown in diversity, we're accounting for more subgroups. In 2022, we had fewer than 10 students listed as a student of 2 or more races. In this past 23 school year, we surpassed that number, so that now becomes another data point. In terms of program, non-economically disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged students with an IP, general ed students, students with a 504, MLs, which is multilingual students, formerly ELL or ESL, non-MLs, and non-migrant students. Overall proficiency. The state has remained at 37%. That's grades 3 through 8, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Last year we scored at 45%, and this year at 51%. This is one of our better overall percentages in some time. Again, not satisfied. The comparison, in 2019, we had 43% of our students achieve proficiency, meeting or exceeding. The one difference in data points is that we had juniors taking Algebra 2 and sophomores taking geometry and some freshmen. There were more students in that pool in 2019. Last year, similar to this past spring, where it's pretty much the highest grade levels, freshmen. So we went from 43% prior to COVID, 45% in our first testing experience after COVID, and now we're at a point of 51%. Science, one of the state's greatest mysteries. Science changes a little bit. There are 4 levels of achievement: minimal understanding, limited grade level understanding, appropriate grade level understanding, and advanced understanding. Here you see the district's score in each level in percentage of students, grades 5, 8, and 11, as compared to the state. Comparing our levels from one year to the other, again, in that second to last column, you want to see negative numbers, and in the last column, you want to see positive numbers. In comparison to the state, we exceed in grade 5. We're slightly below in grades 8 and 11. But again, my colleagues in superintendents in the county and the state, we have a concern for that. Obviously, it's reflected in our scores as well, but from the entire state perspective, those are the averages for all the test takers in grades 5, 8, and 11 in science. The administration totals. Now the comparison of subgroups, again, 3 grade levels, 5, 8, and 11. 25% of our males have passed the test as compared to 28%, and you see the improvement over the prior year. We have our subgroups. Again, a smaller number of students, grades 5, 8, and 11. So in the subgroup of Black, we didn't have 10 or more students, so therefore they're not rated in that particular category. Non-economically disadvantaged, economically disadvantaged, students with an IEP, Gen Ed, students with a 504. Overall proficiency. District is slightly ahead of the state. The state's been at 24% for 2 years now. Comparisons, prior to COVID, 23% proficiency. Last year, 20%. And then 2 years ago, and then the current spring, the past spring, 26%. So we've shown improvement from a data perspective, but not satisfied. Now, I'm also obliged to report out data concerning the use of our dynamic learning maps, DLMs. The DLM is an alternate assessment for students with the most significant intellectual disabilities in English language arts, mathematics, and science. The DLM test specifications and essential element skill statements used for instruction and assessment are currently available and accessible via the DLM website. In 2023, we had fewer than 10 students complete this assessment. We have the results, obviously, and we're remediating accordingly, but we do not include them in the overall data presentation. Having heard all this, there are some things that we're going to continue to do. We feel that there are some things that have been successful, and then there are some things that we realize that need improving, and perhaps we're changing our way of doing things. We're continuing PD. We have a relatively new literacy series in K-6, so we're continuing our professional development in that area, along with the fact that we've had some turnover in teachers, so we're making sure that everyone in those content areas at those grade levels are receiving the appropriate professional development. We're continuing to analyze our test scores. We don't have Start Strong anymore, but we have the previous year's Start Strong and link it. We're focused on grade articulation, vertical and horizontal, departmental, especially as you get towards the intermediate school and high school, and also school building, from Doyle to the intermediate school to the high school, and Moonachie to the high school. Ongoing initiatives, we're in year 3 of our reading specialist positions at Doyle and the intermediate school. We're in year 2 of supporting with a math interventionist at the intermediate school. We're continuing to utilize ARP, ARP, and ESSER 3 money for supports in terms of extended school day, learning acceleration, which should be starting probably right before we break out for December. We have to begin to revise our curriculum because come September of 24, there are new ELA and math standards being put into effect. So we're working on that now. We've implemented a new schedule of instruction in the high school. We've moved from the rotating block schedule to a straight 8 schedule where we're meeting daily in our classes. And we're curious to see the impact of that on our test results moving forward. Because one of the things about being a grade 7 through 12 high school is that you now have 6 grades. And sometimes we think a 7th grader is a 9th grader, but they're really a 7th grader. And the transition for a student going from the intermediate school to the high school in terms of where they're going and the height of the people in the building is significant. Now we're giving them a scheduling model, which is somewhat similar to their model in the intermediate school, albeit they have more teachers, but it's consistent. I have this subject at this time every day. We feel that supports the efforts of our 7th and 8th graders. Continued use of Linkit for data warehousing, analytics, and assessment solutions. We've been doing a better job of incorporating STEAM into grades K to 6. We're looking to continue that. Next steps, grades 7 through 12. English language arts, professional development. We've seen the results of our test scores, keeping in mind that we don't get test scores for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, but we have other data points to utilize there to see where the growth is taking place. Reviewing our common assessments in math and ELA to ensure that they're aligned to the standards, and we'll have to go through the process again next year with the new standards. We're meeting in content-specific roundtables to increase vertical articulation. What are you doing? Let me show you what I'm doing, and perhaps together we find the best practice. We've had initiated administrative team walkthroughs to observe teaching and learning so that more than one administrator walks through a class and observes and walks out, and administrators compare with each other in terms of what they saw, what our expectations are, and what we could talk to the teacher about to improve the classroom. We're going to examine the grade 9 through 12 science course sequencing. For some time now, we've been given physics in grade 9, followed by biology and/or chemistry and biology. Many districts have physics at the back end of their course of studies. And the problem that we've discovered, if you're in physics in grade 9, many of you are also in Algebra 1 in grade 9, and physics incorporates a great amount of algebra. We're building the plane as we fly. So we're looking at the impact of scheduling, because the complication is that science certificates are specific for certain science areas. So if we ever decide to change the sequence, one area most likely will double up for a year. We have to ensure that we have teachers with those certs to do that. Nothing has been set in stone, but it's something that the data tells us we have to take a more closer look at. And that's something that I've been thinking about for a while. Lastly, more content-specific professional development. We survey the staff about what we offer from a professional development standpoint, and they are always very honest and forthcoming. They would like to see more content-specific professional development. What I teach, I want to learn more about what I teach. And that is an endeavor for myself and the administrators to give them that professional development during the school year, and considering that and planning moving forward. As I mentioned, at the end of the board agenda, when you have the opportunity to present questions or comments on anything, you should feel more than free to raise any questions or concerns regarding this presentation. It will be on the board website at some point tomorrow. And of course, you can contact your school building administrator for a school building level concern or question regarding the data. You can contact Ms. Dudsack, and you can contact myself. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education approved minutes of the following meeting, executive and public session meeting, September 18th, 2023. Can I get it first? Mr. Fallon. Second, Mr. Biamonte. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Garvin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Byrne? Still with us?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Biamonte?
Yes.
Mr. Nieves?
Yes. All right. On to our committee reports. Trustees, any issue if I read through them? No? All right. We have curriculum instruction. We have approval of evaluation requests. We have approval of another one, which includes Moonaki, approval of request to establish a special class program, approval of home instruction, approval of professional development requests, approval of Hispanic Heritage Night, approval of out-of-district placement, approval of to terminate school instruction at PHP placement, approval of field trip request, approval of home instruction, updated end date, approval of field trip request, approval of intermediate kindness tie-dye event, approval of teacher consultant services, approval of out-of-district placement, approval of related services request, approval of related service request without Moonachie, approval to amend related services, approval of OOD placement, termination, home instruction. On to personnel, we have approval of co-curricular appointment, approval of student volunteers for community hours for aftercare program 23-24. We have approval of appointment for care personnel 23-24. We have approval of appointment of substitute. We have approval of revised the high school stipends 23-24. Approval of the reappointment of the unaffiliated district personnel 23-24. Approval of the chaperone. Approval of personal appointment. Approval of administrative leave. Approval of the high school co-curricular appointment for 23-24 school year. Approval of home instruction personnel updated end date. Approval of request for extension of leave of absence, rescinding of the approval of reappointment of athletic site manager 2023, approval of appointment of the assistant to the athletic director, which is 12 months for 23-24, same personnel, approval of co-curricular appointment, approval of appointment of long-term replacement substitute, which was revised, approval of the CED 6 periods teaching stipend 23-24, approval of coaching appointments, approval of personnel appointments, and then approval of revised job description for accounts payable administrative assistant to the school business administrator. On to policy, we have both, which include Moonachie approval of policies and regulations, 2 for buildings and grounds, 1 which is Moonachie, which is approval of facility request, and then approval of facility request for just Woodridge. And then on to finance, we have approval of the bills list, approval of fundraiser, another approval of a fundraiser without Moonachie, approval to accept additional state aid, approval to transfer funds. On to board operations. We have approval of the 23-24 district-wide nursing services plan. We have the approval of the report concerning the yearly completion of bus emergency evacuation drill. We have affirmation of superintendent's report of incidents of harassment, intimidation, and bullying, otherwise known as HIB, within the district. Approval of the pay increase for substitute custodial maintenance staff members effective January 1st, 2024. Approval of recognition of exemplary staff attendance, which Mr. Albro talked about, 22-23. Approval of the acceptance of a donation. We are tabling board operations number 7. On to approval of agreement with Frontline Education for time and attendance. Approval of agreement with Profit Tank. Approval of parent transportation contract for 23-24 school year and extended school year. And lastly, approval of agreement with Spencer Savings Bank. Trustees, before I open it up to the public on resolutions only, any comments, questions? No? I'm going to open it up to when we open it up to the hearing of citizens and whatever you'd like to talk about, that's where we'll also answer questions if you have anything about the assessment. For this, we'll just do the resolutions. Open up.
Bonnie Taylor, 64 Woodridge Street. I had a question in regards to item CI3. In the addition to these classrooms, when are these classrooms going to begin?
What was that? One of the classrooms?
CI3.
Yeah, but,
When is it going to start?
when is, for approval of the request to establish a special class program, when is that going to start?
Already started?
He said it already begun.
Oh, okay.
We are approving retroactively.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. And then I had a question in regards to item P13, P14. The approval, the rescinding of the approval of athletic site manager to the appointment of assistant athletic director. Does this employee need to have a certification as an administrator to fill that position?
I did hear that one.
Okay.
Grateful to the technology. Mrs. Taylor, this position was created when we reconfigured the high school administration and added more administrative duties from an assistant principal standpoint, Mr. Sinclair. We realized there were some on-site duties that he couldn't tend to as athletic director. So we rescinded the initial position, an appointment which we did last June, and we created a new job description to encompass some of the activities that Mr. Triptocosti will be involved with now. To answer your question, it does not require a supervisor certificate. There is no supervision of staff involved in the position. It's a stipend position.
So that's what the unaffiliated assistant means?
Correct.
Okay, But we, as the district, are paying for that stipend.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then I wanted to ask about board item 9M. What is Profit Tank?
Profit Tank is a company that specializes in looking at budgets and operating expenses of companies and now school districts and trying to economize savings for their respective clients. So basically, they're going to come in as a consultant, look at our financials, look at our spending, assist me in looking at it to see if there's anything within our district that we can economize to save money.
And what is the cost to the district for that service?
The cost will be a 50% savings shared agreement of anything that they come up with. So in other words, if we're paying $100 for a utility bill, they come up with a better utility company that can service us with the same rates and same type of services. If we save $50, the district saves $25, their fee is $25.
I see. Okay,
So it's a pay-as-you-go, based on what the savings are.
okay, thank you. Lastly, in regards to the presentation, Mr. Albro, you said content-specific roundtables. Are you referring to professional learning committees?
Well, I think we're going to have a number of different questions, Bonnie.
Okay.
So we'll,
I thought we were going to ask them now, that's all.
no, in the open.
Okay.
I'll call everybody back.
Thanks.
Hi, Melissa Cruz, 335 Columbia Boulevard. Can you just talk a little bit about P6, Facilities Manager? Is that something similar to this?
Let me take it off. The salary that we approved in the last meeting was incorrect by $300. So I'm revising it to show the correct salary. That was my error.
And what, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so the difference between that and the site manager? What are the roles?
This is our coordinator of building and grounds.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right, I'll close the hearing. Citizens to just who's in the audience. Carl, do we have anything that was submitted online?
No questions.
All right. Trustees, looking for your support. I will go through Woodbridge only first. We have curriculum and instruction number 1, approval of evaluation request. Number 3, approval of request to establish a special class program. Number 5, approval of professional development request. Number 10, approval of home instruction, updating the end date. 11, which is a field trip request. 12, which is the intermediate kindness tie-dye event. 13, which is the approval of a teacher consultant services. 14, out-of-district placement. 16, related services request. And 17, amend related services. On to personnel, we have number 3, 11, 12, and 16, which is the approval of the appointment of care personnel, 23, 24. Home instruction personnel, just having an updated end date. Request for an extension of leave of absence. Appointment of long-term replacement substitute revised. And the approval of the CED 6th-period teaching stipend, 23, 24. None for policy. Buildings and grounds, we have a facility request. For finance, we have one, fundraiser, approval of fundraiser. And for board operations, we have 3 and 6. The affirmation of superintendent's reports on HIB within the district and approval of the acceptance of a donation. Can I get a first? Mr. Garvin, second. Mr. Biamonte, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Garvin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Byrne? Yes. Mr. Biamonte?
Yes.
Mr. Nieves?
Yes. This one's a little longer. This includes Moonaki. We have curriculum and instruction in 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 15, and 18, which is evaluation request, home instruction, Hispanic Heritage Night, out-of-district placement, terminate school instruction at PHP placement, field trip request, related services request, and OOD placement termination. On to personnel, we have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, and 20. We have co-curricular appointment, volunteers for community hours for the aftercare for 23-24. We have appointment of a substitute, revised stipend for at the high school. We have an unaffiliated district personnel, 23-24. Approval of chaperone, personnel appointment, administrative leave, high school co-curricular appointments for 23-24 school year. We have the rescinding of the approval of the reappointment of the athletic site director, which you just heard about, then the reappointment to the assistant to the athletic director. We have co-curricular appointment, coaching appointments, personnel appointment, job descriptions for accounts payable, administrative assistant to the BA. Onto policy, we have two. We have approval of policies and another for regulations, one for buildings and grounds, which is facility request. Finance, we have 1, 2, 4, and 5. We have a bills list, a fundraiser, additional state aid, and transfer of funds. We have an addendum there, so on 6, so we have, I know I read that wrong. Approval of the monthly financial reports of the board secretary and treasurer, certification of balanced budget and budget transfers. On to board operations, 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. As you heard earlier, we are tabling number 7. We have approval of the 23-24 district-wide nursing services plan. Approval of the report concerning the yearly completion of bus emergency evacuation drills. We have the pay increase for substitute custodial and maintenance staff effective January 1, 2024. We have the recognition of exemplary staff attendance 23-24. We have superintendent's, again, report on HIB within the district. That's the one that we're tabling. We have approval of the agreement with Frontline Education for time and attendance. We have agreement with Profit Tank, and we have the parent transportation contract for 23-24 school year, an extended school year. And then lastly, we have the approval of agreement with Spencer Savings Bank. Trustees, any comments, questions, or concerns? No. Can I get a first? Mr. Fallon, Mr. Garvin, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Fallon?
Yes.
Mr. Garvin?
Yes.
Mr. O'Byrne? Mr. Biamonte?
Yes.
Mr. Nieves?
Yes. Thank you, trustees, for your support. Any comments before I open it up to the public?
I just wanted to state thank you to all the teachers and administrators for your service and your exceptional service of not being out sick and all that stuff. Thank you, guys.
Anyone else? You good? All right. So I'm going to open it up to the hearing of citizens. We can talk about anything that you want to talk about, but also if there's questions that you have specific to the assessment, bring them up now.
Hi, Michelle Milano, 316 Columbia Boulevard. So I wanted to ask some questions to Mr. Albro with regard to the presentation. So I appreciate your acknowledgement of that there is some improvement and there is a need for greater improvement. So thank you for acknowledging that. And yes, there is incremental progress. You know, I'm speaking a little bit personally, like I've seen this with my kids as they've gone through Doyle Intermediate now to the junior senior high. One or two things I wanted to point out that stood out to me was for ELA, which something stood out to me in your presentation is that as they move from Doyle to the Woodridge Intermediate School, there's over a 20% drop in the scores. And then again, when we move from the Woodridge Intermediate School to the junior senior high, there's over 20% drop. So there's significant drops at those different stages. And I'm curious how we're going to address those. If I can continue on to math, we really have a similar kind of situation where the scores drop from 77% in third grade all the way down to 20% in the eighth grade. So every single year, there's less and less ability for the students to meet and exceed, you know, what the standards are. So I guess with that as the backdrop, my question is, do we have goals in place that are established for the upcoming year? What is the plan or what's the process that we're going to go through to get those goals accomplished in a reasonable time frame? And what does success look like to you?
I did hear that. Thank you. I'm going to preface it by saying success would be if we ever get to 100%. I hope that happens someday. We'll probably get to 99 and the state will stop doing the test. We won't be like a chance to get to 100. The one other thing we have to realize too is having been the Doyle School principal and then now the superintendent, the fluctuations that you addressed has been happening statewide and school district-wide. The third grade, the original test, for those of us who remember years ago, was grades 4, 8, and 11. And at one point when I was at Doyle, they added grade 3 and they filled in the rest of the grades. So when you look at the transition from Doyle to the intermediate school in terms of the test scores, the one thing, and it points back to the articulation aspect I talked about earlier, instructional time. Does third grade Doyle, do they have more time to focus on language arts and math? They're not getting tested in science. Do they have more instructional time as compared to their colleagues in 4th, 5th, and 6th, where there's more time being spent in other content areas? And are there ways that we can make it more equitable across grade levels? You don't want to give up anything, but can we do it in a better way using our time? That translates over to intermediate school, to the high school. One of my concerns, and my hopes, I guess I would say, the change in the schedule is going to give us instructional time consistently every day. Now, I don't know if we're going to see that measure of improvement in this year. Perhaps a better judge would be next year's 8th grader, your son's in 7th and 8th grade. If I figured out the right way, that was one of the first things that we did when I assumed the superintendency. Having been here in the previous straight 8 schedule and transitioning, I know all the advantages of the drop schedule that we have, but this, or what I showed before, is one data point where something's not working. So that's one of the things I'm hoping in that transition, is because, again, instructional time, we know for a fact they're getting more instructional time daily in 6th grade in language arts and math than they're getting in 7th grade and 8th grade, because, again, 7th and 8th grade, you have more subject areas. When you get to 9th grade, now you have high school graduation requirements. You don't have the time to spend on all those areas. So in terms of a plan, it all goes back to some of the things I discussed earlier. And Mrs. Taylor actually touched upon it a moment ago, and I'm sure she'll bring it back up. Going through COVID, we focused our training initially on how do we get these devices to work? How do I cast a lesson to my students at home? And coming back from COVID, we talked a great deal about social emotional learning and trying to recuperate the human aspect of what we just endured. And now that we've gotten through that, in surveying the staff has honestly said, all those things were very important and timely. Now that we've gotten through that, we're not going to forget that training. We need to go back to more content-specific professional development. I'm a math teacher. I need to get more help, training, collaboration, et cetera, in my content area, because I want those scores to improve. So that's, I don't want to say it's a shift. I say that we had to focus on certain things to get through the COVID area that's not data-driven. And now that we've gotten through it, and from a testing perspective, we've surpassed prior to COVID, my hope is next year when I'm making this presentation, the numbers would be 100, that's my hope, but hopefully greater than they are now.
In one of the action plans, it said roundtable, and I'm sure Ms. Taylor will communicate more about this. But my question with regards to that is if you can explain that to me and understand, so I understand, does that mean peer-to-peer, or are you talking about instruction from the teacher to the student?
It starts.
Peer-to-peer is not necessarily going to be a replacement for what education be coming from the
From that aspect, it's about the professional, I don't want to say development, but development's part of it, where my 3rd grade team sits down, and my 3rd grade team has the scores for math. And I have 2 teachers, well, actually every teacher in 3rd grade teaches math. And we look at your scores were A, and your scores were B, and your scores were C. What did you do differently from me? What can I do differently? And then talk about from 3rd grade to 4th grade, and considering Moonaki students transitioning as 8th graders to our 9th grade. When I talk about roundtable, I am talking about the staff in terms of gaining more information, gaining more strategies professionally to do a better job in providing instruction, which will lend itself to better results in the classroom.
I just would like to just say, I don't believe that a homework buddy is a replacement for the education coming from the teachers. And I'm sorry, that might be a personal comment, but.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonnie Taylor, 64 Woodridge Street. So my question before was, Mr. Albo, you had said the round table, and I had asked, is that your professional learning committees?
I'll go back when you ask another question. To answer your question, from a professional learning community, a PLC, again, that's something, when we hit COVID, we had to change our focus in terms of teachers had to develop talents in new areas in order to provide instruction to their students. And now that we've come back, yes, our PLCs, our common planning time, our scripted time in the course of the school calendar, et cetera, to start talking about with our colleagues what we can do to improve, what's best practices. So yes, I would answer that's PLCs.
Excellent. How often do the PLCs meet?
The PLCs meet by contract. We have one staff meeting per month for an hour, and the principal or the building administrator has the wherewithal to determine whether it need to be a direct meeting from the principal, whether it can be teacher-led PLCs, whether we have someone coming in to do presentations. We have 4 professional days built into our schedule this year. We'll have a 5th day built into our schedule next year as per contract, and that's where those things will happen. In addition to the opportunities that we have, unfortunately, not every day, but having the straight A schedule makes it easier of developing common planning opportunities.
All right, I just want to clarify. So according to the contract, the teachers have to meet once per month. Is that staff meetings and PLC meetings? So one meeting per month after hours?
Yes, one meeting per month, and times have changed now where the principal need not meet with the staff to do something that he or she could do now via email and not waste that time. So there are certain things throughout the course of the school year that require the principal to directly address something, get towards Halloween, get toward testing time, discussing testing security protocols, et cetera. But the principals do a good job of also allowing for some time. I might meet with you for 20 minutes, but we've also had on our agenda the opportunities for scheduled PLC meetings to take place with feedback being presented back to the administrator.
Okay, so who is in charge of keeping the agenda for the PLCs?
Within the PLC itself, they'll decide to make that call.
Okay, and are teachers being encouraged to co-teach, to cross disciplines, to kind of incorporate more ELA and math into the other content areas?
Co-teach in terms of 2 teachers being in the same class?
Well, no, working together on a lesson that would address the ELA standards or the
Yes, I
math
would definitely say that's something that we're looking at because our test scores, our math scores, because math involves much more literacy than it used to, it is cross-curricular. And our science scores, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of math, and also having taken some of the practice questions in science, the reading part as well. So my answer to that is yes, and that's something that we continue to improve upon.
Thank you. And then I just had a question in regards to Title I. Are we identifying those students? Are we offering the tutoring? And how successful is that tutoring turning out for us? Do we see students going to those sessions?
As a matter of fact, word will be going out. We've had families have received specific invitations concerning a Title I meeting, which will be held here next Monday night, beginning at 6:30. You've been involved in them in the past, where we explain the parent-school compact, what title funds are used for, what we're using for it now, and where we find our success. In the last couple of years, we have the opportunity to use title funds and ARP ESSER funds to extend the school day, offer not only remediation in summer, but a chance for acceleration in the summer as well. And I would say that the minimal growth that we've had, pretty significant compared to last year, has something to do with the efforts that are being made in remediation. And Title I is also concerning the addition of 2 reading specialists, and the math interventions, portions of their salary are going towards those functions.
Okay, thank you. That's good to hear. Last but not least, I just wanted to mention the Woodridge Parent Advisory Network STEM Night at the intermediate school, November 29th from 6:30 to 7:30. Thank you so much.
Hi, Melissa Cruz. I just first want to start by thanking the 7th and 8th grade girls volleyball coaches, Coach Bell and Coach Ashley, for a great season. My daughter was part of it. They had a lot of girls come out. They were to manage it with a developmental team and then a team that also competed. I think they did an excellent job with having school spirit and really pushing the volleyball team. And also Ms. Pascas also played an important role in that. So I'm thankful that we have that program. It was very successful and the girls were very happy. They improved both individually and as a team. So I'm happy to hear that we're doing 7th and 8th grade basketball. So I hope that that continues to go on. I think that's a great addition to the junior, senior high school. Second, I just wanted to talk a little bit about Doyle School, that the 3rd grade does have a kids care club and an art club. They've had an overwhelming, tremendous amount of interest, which is excellent. I'm happy about that. The only thing is that that cuts the students' time down in half or maybe even less. Due to having such a high turnout, they did have to split it, so it was supposed to be meet once or twice a month. Now the kids are only going maybe for 3 months, and then that's it. So it's not so much a club anymore. Now it's just they're coming for 3 times. So I don't know if there's something that the board could do in order to have another incentive for another staff member to do it, or to offer more money for the members, the teachers that do run the program. So maybe we can continue it monthly for every student that's interested. It's a big thing for the 3rd graders. They really look forward to it, and it's also great for the school. Last, I just want to say I'm happy to hear the things that are coming next. I think that's a great plan. I think that's one of the best plans we've had in the past few years, so that's exciting to see. I know that at Doyle they're doing the WIN program. Both of my daughters have talked about it, and I feel that it's very successful. It allows the teachers to kind of hone in on things that the students need and work on those skills and pull them in a small group, which when we have class sizes as large as we do, that's very important. So, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. All right. Anybody else out there? Nope. All right, I'm going to close the hearing. Citizens in the audience. Carl, did we have any posted online?
Nothing.
Okay, I will close with that. A few public service announcements. Not yet. I just need 1 more minute. Tomorrow, election. Please get out there. Let your voice be heard. Make sure that you vote. 2, yes, so Melissa near and dear to me because of volleyball, but volleyball had a great season. I know football ended at week quake, right? But they had a great season. Boys and girls soccer. I'm probably forgetting, but whenever, and I think Hannah had actually said it, we actually receive, Sylvia, maybe you know, but every time we have like an ejection-free season, that's actually kudos and award that we get that's hung on a banner inside our auditorium. I know once in the past 5 years we had 1 ejection, but it talks to the character and how our coaches instill, class and, into our players. So I don't know if anybody really caught on to that, but when Hannah brought that up, that's the first thing that I thought of. So to our administrators and to our coaches. Final comments, questions, trustees, anything for unfinished business?
Nothing.
No. All right, motion to adjourn. Rich, Mr. Monty, all in favor? All right, close tonight. Thank you.